Hi, this is Ryan with Covington's Nursery. Today we're going to talk about planting tomatoes. They're a lot of people's favorite crop, not just because they're delicious, but because you can plant them in pots as well as in the ground. I happen to love tomatoes, so I'm excited. Come on, let's grow together. Hey, I'm up here at Covington's Nursery with our resident plant expert, Burton. Back when I worked retail up here, very briefly, I would avoid this whole section, basically. I found it a tad overwhelming. There are so many different tomato types to choose from. And in fact, the people didn't really want to talk to me anyway. Most of our customers know more about tomatoes than I do. People are very passionate about tomatoes, which types they like, which types they've had success with in the past. So Burton, before we start any actual tomato planting, I want you to help me decide which tomatoes I'm going to plant. Which tomatoes would be best for me, a first-time gardener, first-time tomato grower here in North Texas? Which types would I be likely to have success with?
Okay, I can help. Let me show you.
Okay. Okay, Burton, I'm standing here with these two beautiful tomatoes. What is your first suggestion?
Okay, my first tomato suggestion is a celebrity tomato.
Okay.
This is pretty much the most reliable production tomato I can recommend for North Texas. It gives you a good mid-size 6 to 8 ounce tomato. Going to be hitting anywhere around this size right here,
okay.
A little bit slightly smaller tomato. And these are very reliable production tomatoes that will go a little further into the heat than most.
Okay, and these are going to be easy.
These are the easiest tomatoes, other than possibly cherry tomatoes, I could get you.
Okay, let's go look at cherry tomatoes.
You bet.
Okay, so cherry tomatoes. Burton, what type are these?
These are Sweet 100 tomatoes. And this is also a very reliable production cherry tomato. These are tasty enough that when you're harvesting them, some of them might make them inside.
Oh, okay, so you can just eat them right off the vine. Fantastic. So, Burton, I can't help but notice these look very similar to the celebrity tomatoes. What are we actually talking about here?
Well, they're similar in flavor, but the tomato will be slightly larger. This is a 444 tomato, and that is its name, actually.
444?
Yes, by number. And specifically, this is a very reliable production tomato as well, with outstanding disease resistance. We're getting a lot of our customers love this tomato.
Wonderful. Okay, Burton, next on your list was the San Marzono tomato. Just tell me real quick, what would I use these tomatoes for?
San Marzonos are good eaten alone or in salads, but they also make an outstanding sauce tomato.
Like for a marinara?
And spaghetti and similar. I mean, if you want to have an outstanding kind of sauce tomato, this is a good one, and they're delicious.
Are they easy to grow, though?
They are.
Okay. Oh my goodness, Burton, I feel like that you have saved the best for last. These are beautiful. What are we looking at here?
You're looking at heirloom tomatoes, and specifically this is a Cherokee purple heirloom tomato, and these are delicious. It takes a little more effort to grow heirloom tomatoes.
Okay.
They don't give you quite as much productivity per size, but they are so worth it. These are the kind of tomatoes you can sit down with a salt shaker and a sharp knife and go to town.
Nice. Maybe I'll work my way up to this. So now Burton's going to show us how to properly plant a tomato, but Burton, first, since we're doing this demonstration in a pot, I have to ask you, is there a reason why so many people put their tomatoes in pots rather than in the ground?
Well, certainly. Other than people who are in apartments or just don't have room otherwise, obviously. One good reason to do them in a container is that your tomatoes genuinely love sunshine. But when we get really hot in the summertime, it gets a little hot for that tomato to be productive.
It does
so
get
if
hot
you put
here.
it in the full sun in a container early, you can move it to a little shade in the afternoon when we get really hot, and you can extend the productivity of your tomato.
So you have that mobility. Makes sense. Okay, let's get planting. Okay, Burton, so is this pot just filled with 100% Covington's potting soil?
It is. It'll be a fine base for what we're doing.
Okay, let's go.
And what we're going to do, when you're planting tomato, this is one of the very few plants we're ever going to tell you to plant a little deeper than normal.
That is unusual.
We don't want to plant most things around here too deep, but I want this one to be down a little bit below grade. We're going to dig ourselves a slightly deeper hole. We're going to put some of this nice slow release organic fertilizer in here.
Okay, you're using Happy Frog?
I am. And we're going to take off just these little bottom initial seed leaflets down off the bottom. And we're going to plant this down below grade.
Was that about 1 inch below?
It's about 1 inch below. If you have a really tall tomato that's leggy already, you can plant it even sideways and allow it to come up if you're buying one that's very long already.
Okay.
But these are at the perfect stage. We're just putting it down about 1 inch.
Great. Okay, Bert, just, as a kid, I remember turning these tomato cages into all sorts of different fun things, but what are they actually for?
Okay. They're to support the weight of the plant when it's covered in fruit so it doesn't break over. It's also more efficient space-wise because it keeps the whole thing generally a little more up so it's not taking over wide patches of your garden.
I guess my question is, like, in nature, the tomatoes wouldn't have cages, so why do we give them cages?
Well, we do them in cages so that you can grow tomatoes much more closely together. Also, it'll cut down on how many of your tomatoes are lost to animals coming by and chewing, if the rabbits come by, if squirrels.
So it's to keep them upright.
Keeps them upright, but also tidiness. But in nature, a lot of the time, these fruit will break the stems.
Oh, okay.
Under the weight of their own fruit. And when the plant is supported, that won't happen nearly as easily.
That's great to know. So Burton, the last thing I want you to cover is something specific to North Texas, and I know it's important. It's the timing of when to plant your tomatoes.
It does matter.
Okay.
We want to plant tomatoes as early as we can succeed with them. Now, tomatoes, if they freeze, they will go down.
Okay.
But we also get very hot in the summer, so you want to plant it as early as you can get away with it to maximize your productive time of your plant. So,
early, but not too early.
Correct. It's a little bit of a dance every year. We usually recommend planting them as early as you feel comfortable with, and if we're going to have a last second frost, go in and cover the seedling with compost or a paint bucket. You don't have to protect it from a really hard freeze this time of year, but you do need to be prepared to protect it from a light freeze.
And our last freeze is usually?
March the 17th in our area of North Texas.
Okay. Burton, it has been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. Also, join us for our next video about planting peppers, and maybe in a month we'll have some salsa.
Absolutely.
Let's grow together.
So, you know, I've never killed anything, not that I know of, but I have decided I do think I could kill a squirrel.
Nah.
5 times now I have chewed through my light canopy that hangs above my patio, and 5 times I've had to replace it. So, I think I could, or I can at least, it owes me money, is what I'm saying. But tell us, in the pest prevention realm, what is it that you were doing when we were kids, when you hung all those red Christmas ornaments on the tomato cages? What was that about? It was wild.
Yes. That's because I couldn't ever harvest any tomatoes from it. The birds, the squirrels, everything would get, as soon as it turned red, they'd take them.
I see what this has got.
Yeah. So what I did was I hung those on when the tomato plant put on green tomatoes, put those on. The birds came, saw it was nasty, didn't like it. Then they left them alone, and I got to then harvest tomatoes.
So this is bird psycho. This actually, I thought you were going to tell a funny story. This is actually helpful information, Mom. So for those of you who stayed till the end, you got like a gardening, like a really good gardening tip too.
Yeah, you just look crazy.
Can you look crazy?